The press labelled Lord Bath as the Mad Marquis. But as today's head warden, Keith Harris, remembers, it was the neighbours who put up the fiercest opposition.
The local villages and towns were frightened to death that they'd have lions roaming everywhere because of the fencing wouldn't keep them in. And there was a lot of lion experts that said, oh, you know, chain link fences would, the lions would walk through them and they'd be out.
The job of making sure that the lions didn't get out fell to the safari park's first head warden, Mike Lockyer. He was an ex-army mine clearance officer who had experience of working with wild animals in Africa.
We had some basic knowledge of what animals would do, but because nothing quite like it had been done, we didn't know exactly what would happen. It was the unknown that was the sort of thrilling bit. And I was terribly excited. I mean, it was a thing that I felt I wanted to do. I knew it was pioneering, it was experimental, and it was going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interest.
The 100-acre lion enclosure was surrounded by heavy-duty chain-link fence, army surplus from prisoner of war camps in Korea, backed up by regular patrols.
This fence is higher than the first ones we put up. We had fences that were about 2 meters, and honestly, it wasn't enough, and they did occasionally go over. We weren't that worried because they were still within the main reserve. But as you can see, they do get interested if you turn your back to them.
Nowadays, there are 2 prides of lions here, each with their own enclosure. Both prides have a dominant male and a hierarchy of females and youngsters, mirroring what would happen in the wild. But when the lions first came here, nearly all of them were adult males.
In the early days, you took what you could get. To start with, they worked out their own structure because it was all one big lion reserve, no divided sections. And they were just let out and to see how they got on. And there was quite a bit of fighting to start with, a little sort of hierarchy business going on. Lion fighting is very often fur flying and looking terrible, and then you see them get up and walk away. I mean, they don't always end up in serious injuries or fatalities because they're just pretty tough animals.
In those days, animal management was rather more haphazard than it is now.
It was exciting, and health and safety issues weren't really very important in those days. People did all sorts of things which nowadays would not be allowed.
The keepers have learned a great deal since then, and Lewis, the new recruit, is being taught by Craig Faggoter, who's been patrolling for 13 years. The first and most important task is to know where all the lions are.
Right, we've got 4 down here, so we've got to go find the others. Make sure they're not up to anything they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. They're quite spread out at the moment as well, which makes it a bit more interesting for you. So working where to park.
Yeah, a bit more difficult as well.
Yeah.
Patrolling also means keeping an eye on the public, especially those who ignore the warnings to stay in their cars.
I don't want to scare you or nothing, but your job is literally life and death. Yeah. You've got to consider, if anybody does get out, right, and you're not quick enough, they could be dragged off and killed.
The fact that people's lives are in your hands, I think you just got to do what is necessary, and you've got to use common sense and get down there as quick as possible.
Sometimes lions get too close to the road. A good keeper always has to be in control and not let the lions get the upper hand.
Okay, so you get round to the position where you want them to go and just turn into them, just turn.
Yeah.
And get up. But they're not daft, they don't want to get run over. Okay, there you go. And she's going to go roughly where the others are. Yeah. Okay?
Now that Lewis has learned the basics of lion keeping, the next stage of his training is to take the wheel of the patrol vehicle himself.
A little bit apprehensive, just making sure I'm going to hopefully do the job right, really. Just worrying about they better not get past me, really.
Lewis's first challenge is to stop the lions escaping through the gate when their food wagon arrives. Then he has to follow on behind.
He's just now there, just making sure nothing happens to the feed wagon. Making sure the lions are not chewing on tyres or climbing over the cage or something like that. He seems to be doing fine. Not getting too close.
With the feeding completed, Lewis is about to find out if he's passed the test.
OK, Lewis, a couple of things.
OK.
Right, when we come out the third,
Yeah.
you did one mistake.
Craig gives Lewis a full rundown on how he might improve. But the good news is, the job is his if he wants it.
Yeah, it is a relief now that I've done it once, and I'll definitely think I'll probably be doing it again. And as long as I can do it right, that's the main thing.
Lewis will be watching over 7 lions, but back in 1966, Mike Lockyer had 50 to deal with, and no one could give him any advice, because nobody had ever kept 50 lions on an English country estate before.
We knew the risks, just as a racing driver knows that he could crash. Fishermen go to sea, they know the risks. I think it's a shame that we've lost a lot of that sort of personal contact with the animals.
Amazingly, the keepers would often get out of their vehicles. Many of the lions were from zoos or hand-reared. But that didn't mean they were safe.
There were once or twice when I was a bit worried about the distance, and I had to say, right, that lion is actually stalking me. Have I got time to get back to the vehicle, or have I got to stand here and bluff it out? And of course, if you've got a gun, you don't mind bluffing out. If you haven't, you have to think, this is the sort of moment of truth. Do you stare them down or do you get back? But I've been lucky. I mean, I've just had a lucky life. I've had a few injuries, but nothing too bad.
But it wasn't just the keepers who were at risk. Back in the 60s, the public had never experienced anything like this before, and they had to be taught the dangers.
People did very odd things. They'd open the doors, go around to get the thermos flask out of the boot, and even check their oil. I mean, if they didn't actually see a lion, and lions are quite good at hiding, if they didn't actually see a lion, they thought, well, there's none for miles around, so they would quite happily get out, not realising that maybe, 10 yards away in a hollow, there would be a lion sitting there.
Mike decided that it was time the public saw what could happen if they strayed from their cars.
We did several things. We put luggage on cars because lots of cars used to come through with luggage on the luggage racks, which was a bit vulnerable. And then we set up a stunt with a dummy, quite realistic looking, but fully dressed coat and everything, leaning over his car, and then just let the lions find it and to see what they do. And of course they grabbed the dummy and ran off with it, and it was really quite dramatic to watch. It was a good publicity stunt, of course, but it also did rather show people what could possibly happen, and would make them think twice.
Today's the day Lewis Palmer, the new recruit, will patrol the lion enclosure on his own for the very first time. As he mucks out their pens, he admits to being a little anxious.
I haven't been having nightmares, but I have been, well, probably a little bit problems at sleeping.
Lewis certainly won't be sleeping on the job. His first patrol will be in the wooded part of the lion enclosure.
The hardest thing about this section is the fact there's so many trees in it, so you're constantly moving around, trying to see if you can see all of the lions. Asia can be a bit troublesome sometimes. I'm just going to move it because I can't really see it.
But it isn't just Asia Lewis has to worry about. The rest of the pride are moving in too. Lions hunt as a group, and Lewis must try and remember all he's learned to bring the situation under control. Despite all his training, Lewis has found this a very scary moment.
I used to drive around deer and I used to think it was quite an easy job, but now I know what's involved in it, it can be a little bit more daunting.
In fact, when Lewis looked back on his first day as a lion keeper, he decided that the job was very daunting. He handed in his notice and left the safari park. The lions are still here, of course, and Longleat is always on the lookout for new keepers.